ready for takeoff.
We are cleared for takeoff.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time to take flight in your community and in your life. This is Audio Airstrike.
What's up, everybody? I'm Everett Hall-McNeill, and this is Audio Airstrike. Thank you for joining us. Now, with me, I have a reoccurring guest. You know him at this point. He's a dance choreographer, leader, teacher, and now a full-blown podcaster with his new podcast, One Truth, coming out soon. And I'm going to let him and his team at Three Kings drop the date for the release. Thank you so much for coming out, man.
Always
this is
a
Neal
pleasure.
Carter, everybody.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, so, well, as you know, folks, Mother's Day. We're here. So, one of the things that I have always looked forward about this day is the fond memories I can look back on, the laughs, the joking around, also the lessons learned, and also sometimes the discipline that comes with being a mom.
Yeah.
And
bag hand.
Yeah, or worse.
Yeah.
So that's when it comes to Mother's Day, I have very fond memories, and it's just such a joyous occasion for me because now I'm at a point where my mom is currently in Spain, and she's celebrating her Mother's Day with a lot of her close friends. Okay. So she'll be back after, but I do have a gift waiting for her. And when I think about my mom, and also happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and also
happy
for those
Mother's
of you
Day.
who are first-time mothers, special happy Mother's Day to you.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to no
Motherhood.
sleep.
No sleep, yeah.
But there's one interesting story that I want to put out there. This kind of sums up the strength that my mom personally had. So my mom got into a point where my grandmother, who is her mother, needed help. Sadly, she suffered a stroke. I mean, after the stroke, everything was cool, everything was good, but things before the stroke and things after the stroke needed to change, and some stuff had to be moved around. So our grandmother started living with my mom. And when that happened, I watched my mom go into overtime, making sure that everything was good, making sure that everything was straight. Yeah. Even during Christmases, I remember the Christmas tree would be nice and decorated. And I have fond memories of even my own, my grandmother and me decorating the Christmas tree, memories that I will always hold on to. And when I tell you there were gifts, there were like presents sprayed all over throughout the floor. It was like took up half the living room. Yeah. Like it was crazy. My mom went all out to pretty much make sure that I never felt like I was inadequate or was alone or lonely or I didn't want for nothing. That was how far she went due to the circumstances that was put in front of me. And I remember those Christmases, and I appreciate those Christmases that she did. It was an awesome effort. But the reason why this one Christmas stuck out to me is because this gave me a lesson I'll never forget in life. And that lesson was one Christmas, she only could afford to give me one gift. She had put in all this overtime at work. Stuff got tight. Finances got tight. Imagine taking on the burden of taking care of your own mother plus your son. Yeah. So when that happened and she came up to me and I saw this look on her face, like kind of feeling bad that she could only give me one Christmas gift. Yeah. I'm between 12 or 13 years old at this time. So I'm looking at her going, you should not have to feel like, don't feel bad that I only got one gift. Yeah. I'm thankful for the gift. And when I saw my mom with the look of regret that she couldn't give me more than one gift, I'm like, wow, like all these years of like making these big Christmases for me, like this meant a lot to her. Yeah. To always supply the best at Christmas. And when she wasn't able to do it for circumstances beyond her control, I could see the regret in her face. Yeah. And that day, it made me just appreciate not just my mother for being my mother, but also my mother for making the sacrifices. It's one thing for you to hear, one thing for you to be younger and you not seeing the sacrifices being made, but it's another thing as you get older, you see every sacrifice made, you see every bill taken care of, you see stuff around the house that you trying to figure out how is one woman doing all of this. And when I saw that and I was just very thankful. I was very thankful for the love and the strength that she carried. If anybody deserves to be to be out on a trip for Spain, it's definitely my mother. So I got a gift waiting for you when you get back. Love you, Mom, and shout outs to you for just always just being a supportive person. No matter how many crazy ideas I got, crazy films I write, off the wall podcast topics that I could come out with, the number of times you have even allowed certain people, now this ain't for everybody, she's allowed certain people to podcast in my house, which is crazy. So I appreciate that. So, that's awesome. And so shout outs to all the mothers out there, but especially happy Mother's Day to my mother. So, Neal, you got any fond memories of your mom?
Oh, man. Well, first, let me just say happy Mother's Day to your mom.
Thank you.
And wish her all the best. Happy Mother's Day, Ma. I love you. Thank you for all that you've done for not just me, but for all of your children. But I think for me, I just want to say, it's not until as a kid, you saw that moment where your mom had that regret of not being able to provide what was used to be a normal Christmas for you. You saw a year at 12 years old where she couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. It's hard. And I know I only know that from being a parent, that when you can't provide something for your child, it's the hardest thing, especially when you want to give them the life that you never had. Mm-hmm. It makes it 10 times harder because you know how it felt for you, but now your child has to feel that, and that's hard. So that's where that regretful face came in at for your mom. But I just want to say that it's not until we start to get older that we realize how much our parents put in work. Our moms, in particular, had put in so much work to make sure we were well taken care of and had Christmases and food and all of these things that we needed. And I think for me, when I say this is no disrespect to my mom, but my mom raised 11 children, with the help of my dad once my dad came back into our lives. But my mom raised 11 children and working 2 jobs, trying to make ends meet, trying to do everything that she could do in her power while trying to be the best nurturer and the best provider. And there's no way the woman can do both. And now I'm a firm believer that a woman cannot raise a boy to be a man. Only a man can do that. However, it's hard when a woman tries to juggle both. And that's not her position, to try to raise children on her own, yet a boy to become a man in this world. And so I feel like there was a part of my life where I may have missed that nurturing part from my mom. And that's not her fault. And I only say that to say, when you realize how much your parents had to endure, how much your mom had to work through and go through to help you become the man that you are, or the young woman that you are today, you can easily look past the things that they couldn't give you because you know that they was holding it down on a much, not to say that it wasn't important, but on another level, she was holding it down in a way that if she did not hold it down that way, I don't know where I would have been. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I missed that nurturing part. However, I got the parts that at that time my mom felt like I needed the most. And I think that it helped me become a better man. It helped me become a better father to a daughter. But it also, I hope that it helped me become a better husband in the future. And I think that I only can say that because when you witness a woman going through so much to provide and nurture and protect her kids, when you watch that as a young man, it makes you realize that you have to own your position when you get to that place in your life, in the journey of stepping up to the plate and being the man that you're supposed to be, not just for your child, but for your family at large. And I only know that because I witnessed what my mom had to go through. And so I think while it wasn't intentional, she wasn't trying to show me that, but her circumstances showed me that. And it taught me that. And I think that realizing that helps me better understand what my position is as a man, so that I never leave my kids. I never leave, my wife to take care of a household and a kid on her own, rather than, me take my position and make sure I hold it down for my kids and for my family. And so I just say, shout out to all the moms who had to do that, because it's not easy. And it wasn't easy for my mom, and she did it with 11 children. And yes, we went through hell, and because she wasn't able to provide all the time or be there all the time, we were taken into foster care, not, once, but twice. Some of my siblings, maybe it was 3 times for them, but that was because she was trying to do it on her own. And like, again, going through that, I realized that, my mom couldn't always be there because she's thinking about how to keep the roof over our heads. And so just shout out to my mom, man. And I think let's learn to give grace to our parents when we know what they had to go through to be the best parent that they could be. I think for me, it taught me how to have that grace. No, my mom may have missed that nurturing part, but rightly so. She couldn't do both, you know what I mean? And so she had to become provider, so it took away from nurturing, right? And so it teaches us how to, if you are mature enough and intentional enough to look at it and see it from that perspective, it, I hope, teaches you to give your parents grace. And sometimes as children, we don't think that we need to give that grace, but we only realize it when we then become parents. I'm a parent now, and so now I can easily see that from a much broader view, that, how much it is to like be present in my child's life. And sometimes I got to work, I got to do this, I got to do that. And that's just one child. My mom had to do it for 11. Right. So I can easily give that grace where it's needed, because I know how hard it was and how much of a challenge it was for my mom.
Yeah, that's the thing. When it comes to motherhood, especially in today's climate, like there's a lot of people trying to tell you the best possible way that they think is the best course of action for motherhood, but there's no manual to it.
No, there's no blueprint.
There's no blueprint and no manual to it, because every child is going to react to a situation differently. Every child is gonna either react for the better or for worse, and then you have to kind of guide, shift, and correct as you move forward. Yeah. Like, and when it comes to a mother, mothers are natural nurturers.
Absolutely.
Fathers are natural leaders and guiders. Yeah. So that combination strengthens and molds the child into having more confidence to control their destiny, and to have enough confidence to be like, okay, these are the standards that I have been given from my mother, my father, or from a father figure or from a mother figure, and I'm going to carry this out now. And that's important because a lot of times moms aren't appreciated for bringing the nurturing side to a situation. Because I feel like at times you need that person to go, this is kind of the reason why we're doing this. You know what? This, and that, and the third. Still love you, but watch out for this. This is what this looks like. Yeah. Obviously, with a father figure, it's like, I told you to do this because of these reasons. And you might not get a very detailed, thought-provoking reason. But in his mind, he's like, I'm giving you this order so you don't even have to even...
Yeah, you get no explanation.
You ain't getting too much of an explanation. Yeah. But in the back of my mind, I know this is going to help you. Yeah. Because if I sit over here and give you an explanation, I feel like time is being wasted. Yeah.
But not only time is being wasted, but my authority is not being taken seriously. Like if I say do something, do it. Like I think that as parents, they learn, not all, but some of us will learn to come back around and say, hey, here's why I told you to do that, right? But in that moment when we say do it, we expect you to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to negotiate. It's my rule, right? And this is what I'm telling you to do. I expect you to do it, and I'll come back later on my own terms and give you, an explanation if I feel like it's necessary. Which sometimes I believe it's necessary, so that our kids understand.
Right.
Why? And I think it's important for our kids to understand why. I don't think it's okay for us to just say, do, boom, 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 and never go back and say, let's sit down, let's slow down. Here's why. For this reason, for that reason. Let me help you be better here, right?
Right.
Let me show you this. Let me show you that, right? So then our kids can better understand why mom is saying this, why dad is saying this. And I think that, but in that moment, I need you to do what I'm asking you to do now.
And I think that that's a duality, right? Because you have your mother who is not only a nurturer, but is almost like, it's pretty much second in command, almost.
Absolutely. Oh, no, absolutely.
It's pretty much like, in a lot of ways, the mom is the buffer. So if y'all can't get on one accord, mom can step in and say it in a certain type of way to have you understand where Pops is coming from, to have where the dad is coming from. It's
Pops is coming in firm. Yeah. Mom is, see, here's the thing. Pops is going to come in firm, and mom, like you said, she's going to buff it out, but mom is going to buff it out in such a way that it should complement what the dad said, but get the child maybe to better understand why dad is saying it, right? But the mom is nurturer, and the dad is the provider. The dad is the protector. The dad is the one who prepared the kids for life. And so the mom's job is, she's absolutely second in command. And I know some people, may look at that and be like, what do you mean second in command? We're both in command. Biblically, that's not the way it goes, right? If you are a person of faith, that's not the way it goes. And it's not the way it goes even if you're not a person of faith. And this is one of the reasons why I always use this saying that sometimes, you'll hear mom say, you better act right or I'm going to send you with your dad. Or if you don't do this, I'm going to send you with your dad. Why? Because by nature, dads are the ones that discipline. Right? And the mom backs up the dad, right? And sometimes the mom does that in a way that it buffs the situation out, right? And so, yes, the mom is the buffer. She makes that situation a lot smoother. And that's why sometimes kids be like, well, I'm just going to go ask mom, because if I ask dad may say no. And then mom say, no, you got to go ask your dad, right? Because mom understands the position, right? But yeah, you're absolutely right. But I think that when we say mom is second in command, I don't want to make that something that women may hear and be offended by.
And I just want to be clear. Take it from somebody.
But that is her position. That rightful position.
We're not trying to sit over here and be like, oh yeah, the mother is a slave in a position inferior. That's not what we're trying to say. We're trying to say that is the natural order that has been taking place traditionally,
and let me just say,
in American
and if it was
culture.
not that way, then the Lord wouldn't have done it the way that he did it. Right? He created Adam, and then he created Eve. He said Adam needed a helper. I'm gonna give you a helper, and that was the woman. And so that no offense, but if you want to argue, just go argue with the Bible or take that up with the Lord, because that's not something that we're making up, but it's biblical.
Right. So, and I also want to bring this up, right? So for those of you that necessarily you're not in the best relationship with your mother, but you have a motherly figure, take them out, honor them. You know what I mean? I am always going to champion somebody that stood in the gap and taught things. If you were a stepmom or a step parent, this can be your day as well. If you really impacted that child and they decide, hey, I want to take my stepmom out for Mother's Day, by all means. You know what I mean? For those of you who are experiencing Mother's Day for the first time, your first time mother, congratulations to you. However, this is one thing also that I will say. For those of you, for whatever reason, you don't have the best relationship with your mother. Take it from somebody who knows in a different situation. When the time is right and you're ready, articulate if the person is open, if your mother is open. articulate how you feel where the situation went left, because you got to get that out.
Yeah.
You have to get that out. You have to talk directly to that person. There have been too many people on Mother's Day weekend that hate the whole weekend because it just brings back bad memory after bad memory after bad memory.
Yeah.
The person not being there, whatever the situation is. And I want to just highlight really quick, and I ain't going to stay on this long because I don't want to pluck nobody's nerve. But, you know, take that time if you feel comfortable doing it to have that heart-to-heart. Yeah. If it's not available, by all means, you have a motherly figure somewhere around that possibly can stand in the gap, and y'all take them out. You take your motherly figure out, that aunt, that niece, that big sister that stood in the gap and was acted as your mom. Yeah. Take them out and celebrate, man, because at the end of the day, like, it's each one teach one out here. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, not everybody's circumstance is ideal. Not everybody's, you know, circumstance is the same. Yeah. Not everybody's ideology is the same. The way me and Neal will literally paint the town a bunch of colors for our moms and go and get the, you know, the best we can get. Not everybody can, you know, not everybody feels that way about their mother. So it's realistic to, if you feel comfortable and if you feel ready, have that heart to heart. Yeah. But also, if it's not available to you, don't let this day be a downer for you. Take that, use that as fuel, and share that love with people who do deserve it. Yeah. And that's the best. That's the best I could tell you right there.
I also want to say, I think we have to realize that when you have time, some people don't have time because their parents left this earth. And I think that if you still have your parents here on earth, then don't waste time. I think, you know, the most hurtful, you know, part about that is so many of us, we hold on to the grudge for so long, and then our parents leave, and then we like, I wish I would have. I wish I could have. You know, I wish I would have went back and said or did. And I just want to encourage those of you who have your parents still here living. Listen, you may feel like that's not your place. That's not your job to do that because your parents did you wrong. Look, either way, you're going to hurt. It's going to hurt. It's going to either hurt to never do it, and then they leave this earth and you didn't make it right. And it's going to hurt to just have them live here forever or whatever, however long, and you just keep holding the grudge. So you're just holding the grudge and you're hurting. And so either way, I think that I just want to encourage you to just take the step, take the effort to go and to try to, like you said, Everett, make it right. No, it's not your job. But once you've gotten to a place where you're old enough and you understand more and you can articulate how you felt or whatever trauma that your family had to endure because of your parents, look, just go have that conversation. I think we also have to understand that trauma can't heal trauma. You know, some of our parents had to deal with trauma, and they were thrown into the ring and to be parents, and they didn't know how to parent because their trauma. Mm-hmm. And so now it's like, go figure it out. And I think that we have to learn to give grace. And it's only until you get to a place where you realize that and we mature and we understand that, you know, it wasn't that they didn't want to give us the best, but circumstances couldn't allow that. And so when you realize that, I think that should help us flow out just a grace that would allow us to compel us to go to them and say, hey, look, I just want to share my heart. And this is not easy because you didn't do right by me always, but I can't live like this any longer and just make it right. But I want to encourage you to do it while your parents are still living, because as the Bible tells us, we're not promised tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen. And we take time and we take life and we take relationships and people for granted. And I think that, you know, the best thing we can do is reconcile relationships while people are still here, so that when they go, you're not sitting back wishing that you would have, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and I'm gonna say this, right? Motherhood is a part of development. Motherhood never stops. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was like, I don't understand why our mother is still worried about my sister. She's a grown person. I was like, John is a buddy of mine, John. He didn't know any better. He ain't had kids yet. I said, you don't have kids yet. When you have kids, that is going to turn on and stay on. That's not something that just goes off.
No.
To a mom, they still remember the 9-year-old boy, the 5-year-old boy, like that.
Yeah.
They still remember 5-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl. So in your mind, and yes, as of this moment, you are a full-blown adult.
Yeah.
But they, in their brain, they still on protector mode. Even as they get further up in age, they still looking out for you. Even when you don't even realize it. They asking certain questions just to make sure the situation is right.
Yeah. Plus, they know when there's something wrong. You know? They know when their child, is going through something, and they have that look on their face or that energy. Your parents know you the best, and so especially moms. Your mom had to carry you for 9 months. You know what I mean? So, and there's something that just connects with a mom, and she knows, like, you might be able to get over on dad, especially if dad, is not present always, right? But you might be able to get over on dad, but it's going to be very hard to get over on mom. When you're going through something, mom is going to realize that
and sense it quicker than a dad does, and
she's going to sense it very quick. And I just want to say, like, that comes from a place of, her knowing you, from a much deeper place than the dad. You know what I mean? And so I think that we have to understand, like you said, parents, you don't get to turn that off. You're going to always be a parent, and your kids are going to always, look to you. You can be old and gray sitting in your rocking chair, and your kids are going to need wisdom. They're going to need, some advice on something, and you're going to find yourself to always be parenting, and you never turn that off, no matter how old your kids get.
That's true. I want to give a shout out to every phenomenal mom out there. Yeah. You have bared a lot of burdens that you to this day don't speak of. You have nurtured and took care for not just your kids, but other people's kids. Good grief. Other people's children, their friends' children. You've done so much. You have provided love and care for multiple generations. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. The love of a mother doesn't stop. It doesn't end with a certain generation. It continues. It keeps going. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
The impact that my grandmother had on my mother was then passed down to me. And it's a unique situation because it's one thing to be in the home with your mother. When you're in the home and it's both your grandmother and your mother there, so it's 3 generations in one house.
Yeah.
And to see my mom and my grandmother both step in at times in a provider role, but then also step in a nurturing role, it's unique to me because not a lot of people get that type of unique upbringing. You got 2 different generations, and yes, because one taught the other, it's very, very similar and it's very familiar to you, but also you see in certain situations the differences. Mom would explain certain things at times. Grandma would explain some things, but wouldn't explain a whole lot. I did this, that's it.
Yeah.
Mom would be like, hey, this is what the grandma actually meant because of these reasons.
Yeah.
And so when you think about all that, and I want to give a special shout out to the people and the moms that are not with us, those that are with us in spirit. Happy Mother's Day to y'all, because we definitely appreciate it. My grandmother has stood in the gap and helped out multiple generations get to where they are now. So a special heavenly happy Mother's Day to my grandmother. And this episode is dedicated to you. So with that, I appreciate you so much
Always a
for
pleasure.
coming on. And we're going to give you guys another episode. Enjoy your Mother's Day and take care, everybody.